The grimlet beside us gave a skeptical breath.
You expect me to think of something?
Not you, Alex muttered. We spotted Jacques and Henry running toward us, hollering, Mates! The Viper called when we caught up with them. Octavius had hopped down from the roofs to join the two as well, and we all ran from the destructive dragon. Jacques glanced at the new grimlet. Who are you? Alex answered for her. A Sister Reaper. Run now, ask later. Henry panted. Where'd the demons go? They're gone, don't ask why. Though we're currently taking ideas on how to kill that thing if you're in a contributing mood. Jacques pointed ahead with his scythe, drawing attention to the carcass of a dead stone dragon on the adjacent street. Can you resurrect that thing and make it fight the other one? The grimlet sounded exasperated behind us.
That giant? I'm only one person and I'm exhausted enough as it is.
That made Alex snap back to her. I only now noticed a death mark below her collarbone. Another necrovoker? You may be too exhausted, Alex said, but I'm not. From my window, I watched him put away his scythes, and he leapt onto the enormous carcass of the dragon, pressing his hands against the exposed underbelly. His birthmark of black diamonds brightened and changed into a white death mark as he evoked his hallows, grunting as the magic poured into the beast's skin. The creature shuddered under him. He slid down when it rose, its blood sloshing as Alex dragged his hands and his new puppet toward the living dragon chasing us. The resurrected beast complied without protest, sluggishly clashing with the other dragon. Its horned head slammed against the enemy's side, and it crashed into a nearby building. Alex winced on impact. Death! He watched the beasts engage in clumsy combat, more buildings crumbling. We don't want to cause more destruction. There has to be another way. My hallows will only hold something that large for so long without a direct casting.
Whoa!
Vindy cried excitedly as she hopped to our side, watching the dueling dragons with giggling delight.
That was so cool, Dator. You resurrected that huge thing?
Alex shrugged. I may not have studied dragon anatomy, but its bones and organs were already in place. It wasn't as difficult as you may think. At least not for me. Show off, I snorted from the psyche. The grimlet stared at Alex in shock, blinking like a feral guppy.
How did you do that?
Alex gave her an odd look. I believe you saw how.
But you can't... Hang on, what happened to your eyes?
Alex stiffened, realizing she could see the difference between our heterochromia. He turned away to let me take control again, and when I was outside, I addressed her again. Pardon? What about my eyes? Her features wrenched in disbelief, clearly registering that my eyes had returned to normal. Confused, she clutched her head. Perhaps she assumed she'd sustained an injury during battle and had simply imagined our changing eyes. Good. We could use that excuse later. I brushed past her, watching the battling dragons intently. I noticed a small bare spot on the living dragon's belly, the scales already pried off. The rock raiders must have tried to kill it and failed. Many lances and swords still stuck in the beast's ribs. Our scythes wouldn't be long enough to reach the thing's heart. We'd need one of those lances. Vindy, with me! I told our vassal, hurrying to the beast with the rabbit, my eyes fixed on one lance sticking out of the creature's foot. How's your aim? Vindy's nose scrunched.
Aim?
There's a bare spot on the dragon's underbelly. If you can use your terravoking to throw one of those lances at that spot, it may be enough to strike its heart. Vindy squinted at the dragon to look.
What spot? You mean that tiny speck?
That's the one.
Dator, I'm not a markswoman. Every time I've tried throwing any kind of lance, it just goes flat and smacks the target with the staff. Then perhaps I can assist.
The grimlet suddenly piped from my other side. When in void had she started following us? The resurrected dragon was abruptly knocked back by the living beast, and all of us scattered away from its fumbled step. We were finally close enough to the opposing dragon, and I leaped over a pile of rubble, then wrenched the lance out of the thing's foot. I glanced at the grimlet, cocking an eyebrow at her. You think you can hit that spot?
I've trained with every staved weapon there is,
she said, pulling back her long grey strands and tightening her hair ribbon to keep them in place. Well, better qualified than I agreed, then tossed her the staff. Aim surely.